My name is Nick Kraus. My company's Kraus Marketing. We're right in downtown Morristown. I wanted to start with acknowledging what's going on right now and to send out my thoughts and prayers to all you guys and your families and your loved ones. I know some of you guys are probably directly affected. Some of you may not be directly affected, but it doesn't mean that you're not still going through the worry and the insanity with the rest of us. So everything I say today should be taken with a grain of salt of the big scheme of things of what's going on. And I'll say this a couple times throughout the presentation, but nothing I talk about today should be one size fits all. These are recommendations, and you have to think about them in context to your business. I just want to talk 1 minute briefly about my company, and then I'll go into some strategies and ideas that you could be using during these times. So my team is in Morristown, New Jersey, same street as Dublin Pub, it's Pine Street. We got 25 employees, and we practice an all under one roof strategy, which means that we don't outsource our services. Our services are all in-house by full-time employees. This is important to us because we believe real-time collaboration is the best way to deliver the highest ROI for our clients. When you don't have someone in-house, you have to rely on their schedule and their timing in order to get to your client. We found that always to be an issue of delivering the best value. So we keep it all under one roof, including photography and videography. We're award-winning. This last year alone, we've won several awards nationally and regionally. GD USA is a magazine I used to read when I was in college. And it was really an honor the last couple of years to get several awards to them. Inc. 5000, Best Places to Work, and featured in a bunch of different places. Now, this is not just Nick Kraus. In fact, almost none of the work being produced is by Nick Kraus anymore. It's by my team. So my team that I showed before, the biggest asset I have. So that's about Kraus, where we are. So times are tough for everyone, and times are much tougher for the minority. And I think that that's the most important thing to realize for everything that we talk about today. Your audience is different than my audience, and it's different than the person next to you on the Zoom screen here. And some of your audience members may be doing just fine, and your clients, and some of them may not. So I think it's important that you think about where people are and what they could be going through before you start creating any content going forward. There's two scenarios right now that we could, and I'm just going to talk about, there's several scenarios. Everything changes every single day, as I'm sure you guys have seen. Every week is different. So I'm only going to talk about the best case and the worst case. The best case scenario is in 6 weeks, we start to see some type of normalcy form. We see a V shape in the economy, and things come back quicker than people expected, especially with all the money that the government has pumped into the economy, not only to citizens, but to small businesses alike. That's the best case. The worst case is that we can't get the virus under control. We go in and out of lockdown, and this is something that goes on into early 2021, maybe longer. If you're Mayor de Blasio, you think it's even crazier than that. But today we're not here to talk about extremes. I think that the best case and the worst case I just presented are pretty realistic on both sides, considering we have very little knowledge of how things are going currently. And in the best case scenario, if we're back in 6 weeks and you keep marketing, it's a great opportunity to leapfrog your competition. In the worst case scenario, where it's 2021 and we are just coming out of this and people are resuming normal lives, or let's say it's even Q4, in that scenario, if you didn't do any marketing and you went radio silence, you might be in tough shape. But if you continue to market in that worst case scenario, it is actually probably your only opportunity to stay relevant. So I want you to think about those best case and worst case scenarios when you're considering where to spend money, not just on marketing, but for everything else that you're doing. Some of them may have no impact on your business at all, while others, like your marketing, are going to have a lot of impact in both the best case and the worst case scenario. So we always talk to our clients about marketing as an investment. We always talk about it being a long-term game. We don't sell short-term, goals or sales. We sell building brand value, building a lead generation model, and building brand awareness. So to get out of it for just a few weeks doesn't make sense if you truly believe in investing in your brand. And if this is a long-term scenario, then this is the new normal, then we better learn how to do some digital marketing. The main reasons that we've outlined to keep marketing is a reflection of stability. If you've been silent or only have reached out to your current clientele a couple times, they may be wondering if you're still in business. Because the fact is, if you even sent a couple of email blasts, did a few posts, probably only 1/3 or maybe only 10% of your targeted audience or even your current clients saw any of that communication. So for the remaining 75 to 90%, they haven't heard from you since this has started. So how can you present a reflection of stability? It's by continuing to communicate with that audience. There's less noise. A lot of agencies have lost half of their business, if not more. And those clients are no longer in the market. They have decided to crawl under their desks and get in the bomb shelter. My clients are benefiting from this less noise by being out there. They're paying less for ads. Because, of course, this is a supply and demand type of market. And they have less audience out there or less competition out there talking about the same product. So there's a lot less noise. Another thing is your audience is captive, and I hate to use that term, but they're right now at home and they're watching something digital, most likely. It is a beautiful day out, so they may be outside exercising, which has been an awesome thing to see. But for the most part, we have seen record engagements and traffic on the internet and in social media. Be careful with your communication and messaging. While we're still close to this disaster and moving through it, we actually have all found a little bit more sense of normal in this already. And you can start to move away from very sensitive communication. But again, that depends on your targeted audience. But people have felt comfortable and understand what is going on a little bit more. Things that you can talk about is what you've been working on or how your services have changed. So that's something to think about. I'll talk a couple more ideas about what you could be talking to your clients as well. But services changing are a big one. So speaking of services, this obviously is marketing too. I used to be a product marketer when I had a corporate career with a category over $100 million in revenue. And we used to think of all the time, as technology changed, how can our product better support the changes in times? Well, there's no greater change in time than right now. And I've been lucky enough to talk to some clients and some colleagues that didn't mind me sharing some of the ways that they're changing the way they're working. A cleaning company that does all hospitality, restaurants, and hotels basically was put out of business for a few weeks. But in the last week, he decided to reach out to everyone in his current book of business and his competition's book of business and talk about his disinfecting services. And for the last 10 days, he's been booking tons of disinfecting appointments. Point of sale display company, those are the way that people check out, like the waitresses check you out, was basically out of business. And within a few days, they launched their online ordering platform, which they had in their back pocket but never really pushed. And they decided that it was time to go ahead and launch this. And they've been putting together these website ordering platforms for all of the restaurants, which has been a little bit turbulent, but there's no time like the present than to work on that. Office supply company. When they were used to be just 3 weeks ago delivering coffee and also be delivering snacks, there's no one to deliver that to. So they got inventory of disinfectant, masks, and sanitizers, and they're delivering that now to their clients and new clients. Insurance companies, for the first time ever, are offering you to downgrade right in the middle of your plan and right in the middle of the year. So what I want to talk about are some areas to focus on. And yes, John, to answer your question, I do think people are reading a ton more email now that they're at home. People actually are a little bit less busy, and I think they're taking in a lot more content, and we'll talk about email marketing as well. So these 4 areas are where I think you should be focusing over the next several weeks to several months. It's really where we focus for our clients for most of the part. And I'll spend a little bit more time on this spot, and I'll answer some questions after that. So your website. A lot of people neglect their website, but it should be the largest investment that you are spending on as far as your marketing goes that you actually own. This is owned marketing, is proprietary to you, and it should be as advanced as possible. On the right-hand side of your screen, if you could see it, is a heat mapping of user experience. And what we do is conversion optimization for our clients as part of all of our clients' plans. In fact, we only do integrated marketing plans for our clients. So everything I talk about today, all of my clients get. So if you haven't optimized your website, now is the time. I would take a look at all the content on your website and understand what's relevant anymore, what's relevant for the current time and what's relevant for the future, and start mapping out how you're going to update that content. But then I would look at your conversion and optimization, and this heat mapping is a great way of doing it. What you're looking at is where it's red, people are spending most of their time. Where it's blue, people are spending the least amount of their time. So after you have 1,000 users or 10,000 users use your website, you have a really good idea of how people are going through your website and how they're clicking. You also see the clicking spots as well. Now, when I give this to my visual designers, they're like kids in a candy shop. They understand where they wanted people to go, but they also understand where people aren't going. So they can start rearranging the visual elements in a way that makes the conversions higher. But just because you think you did good doesn't mean you actually did good. So A/B testing. You guys haven't heard about A/B testing. It's pretty simple. You have your current website. In this scenario, you have your current website landing page, and you create a new one. Now, typically, you're only supposed to change one element at a time. We tend to be a little bit more aggressive than that and change a few elements. And the goal is that you serve up both of those at the same time, and you do an A/B test, and you see which one has better engagement, which one has better conversion rates. We use Google Optimize tool to do an A/B test. It's an excellent way for Google to serve up different landing pages to your clients for you to understand which one's performing better. Your website, though, should have a couple other things. It should have an email capture tool so that we can get more emails. We're going to talk about emails in a second. It should probably have some type of chat bot and or at least chat experience. We know that millennials don't like to pick up the phone, but millennials turn 40 this year. So it's time to start marketing to them and talking to them in a way that they feel most comfortable. And put a Facebook pixel on your website. I'll talk about that when we get to social media. So those are things about your website you should think about. Think about your content and your user experience first and foremost. Search engine marketing. This isn't just organic, it's also paid. And it's not just through pay-per-click. We also include YouTube in this as well. YouTube is the second largest search engine out there. And people are utilizing it more and more. We just talked about that younger demographic that is now becoming probably a larger part of your targeted audience. And YouTube is a very big part of their life. So I want you to think about if you're showing up on Google, especially in Google Local, and how you could change that. I want you to think about if you have any video content, can you create a YouTube strategy. And I think pay-per-click is worth thinking about right now too, because paid searches may be the only way that you could show up in the near future. And it might be worth investing in if you can get some leads in and you think there's leads out there for your company to invest in paid search right now. So people don't know about Google that much, but I'll tell you a little bit about it, and I won't go on too much because I only have a few more minutes, is that if you have a Gmail account, whether you're reading that email or not, Google is. They're scanning your emails for keywords. And the reason that they're doing that is because they want to serve up better ads to their audience. So, and that includes YouTube. So they understand what your audience is interested in by their Gmail accounts. And if not, then at least by their browsing history. So they can serve up content better. So this is part of their big data. And we utilize their artificial intelligence to serve up to audiences that are engaging with our clients, advertising more. It's pretty simple stuff if you have time to look into it, or if you have an ad agency working for you, that you ask them about some of these things. So most of the stuff is able to be done by yourself. But if you do have an agency, I think it'd be worth, if you haven't heard of this stuff before, asking your agency about it. Social media marketing. So we've seen record engagement in social media in the last couple of weeks. People aren't doing much other than that. And there's a couple different ways you could utilize social media. I would say definitely talk about your team, about what you're doing with your team and how you're pushing through this together. I would also talk about ways that you're servicing your clients, successes. I think that's a great way to talk on social. And lastly, I would talk about how your services have changed and make sure that it's client focused, right? A lot of people get focused on how they're different, but this content specifically should be focused on how you could help your client, how you could solve a problem for them. And you actually might see some real engagement and conversions through your social media, even organically. Now, if you want to do the paid route, we definitely suggest it. Most people don't know that only 2 to 3% of your fans on your Facebook page or any of your followers on any of your social media pages will see your business post if it's organically marketed. Now, if you pay, you could find targeted audiences, but there's a couple things that you could take it even further. You could talk about retargeting. We could talk about lookalike audiences. If you haven't heard about lookalike audiences, it can be very powerful right now. What you do is you take email addresses from your current client list, and maybe even if you have a large enough client list, the clients that are doing well, upload those emails into Facebook, for instance, and Facebook will say, okay, what do all these emails have in common? Because they'll relate those emails, of course, to users. What do all these people have in common? And then they'll find more people just like them by those 5 points to 7 points of commonalities and advertise directly to that lookalike audience. That lookalike audience has been great for getting more engagement and building awareness for our clients. Email marketing. Yes, we have seen higher click-through rates, John, as well. I'm glad that you're seeing the same. What we find is that email marketing for our largest clients is also their largest revenue generator. If your videos are on, I would ask, has anyone not checked their email today? So, and no hands went up. Everyone checked their email today, right? So why not be in their inbox? The subject line alone is a branding experience, right? So be in someone's inbox and be in there as often as possible in a relevant way. Keep a look at your engagement numbers. But there's a couple things you could do with emails. You should be thinking about, especially in these times, how you can start segmenting that audience list or that email list into different services that these people are using. How you could cross-sell using these services, using the knowledge of your current services and other services to cross-sell them on other services. You could be using the AI-generated subject lines, and most email platforms have them, to get better engagement and better click-through. So think about that. And then one last thing, if you really want to go deeper in email, which I suggest you do, is a lot of us just do drip campaigns, but think about automated email campaigns and re-engagement campaigns. An automated email campaign may be a great opportunity for you if you have a customer that uses your services several times over the course of months or years. And you know what that experience is for that customer. So you map out the customer experience, and then you map out emails to hit them at the time they're going through those different experiences. So whether you're a divorce lawyer and you set up or a family law, you set up a prenup for someone, you could put them in theory into an automated email series that sends out an email a couple times a year about maybe building a will or a trust, or how laws have changed. If they went through a divorce and they have kids, I'm sure there's automated email experiences that you can put together. Now that would be one of the most complicated ones, but you have clients that repurchase your product over and over. Think about how you can engage them on a regular basis. Email is really still very strong, and there's much deeper ways that we can do it than just doing drip campaigns. Okay, so those are some brief things that I can get through, but I just want to talk about one more thing. I want to talk about how you're talking to your employees, to your colleagues, to partners out there. It's important that we lead during this time and that we spread positivity, but also transparency. I think a lot of people are running around scared and fear-mongering, and I don't agree with that type of marketing, but I also don't agree with that as a human. So think about how you're talking to your employees, to your clients, what you're saying to them on a regular basis to inspire confidence. I think that's the most important thing we could do right now for especially our employees. A lot of us in this chat are probably, or on this Zoom, are probably business owners, or many of us are. And we're worried about losing our house and losing our businesses, but so are our employees, and they're people too. And I think I've heard a lot of horror stories of people getting laid off in just kind of insensitive ways. And those are people that broke their back for you, and you should be willing to break your back for them. Give back. If you can give back in any way possible, I ask that you do it. I ask that you think about giving a bag of groceries to an elderly neighbor, shooting a text to a police officer or nurse or a doctor donating to a cause that you're seeing online. Cross marketing, I was lucky enough to get involved with a few other great guys and gals to create Feed the Front Line. We've got $30,000 donated in just 15 days, and we've delivered over 1,100 meals to frontliners. The businesses that we're buying the food from, we're buying at full cost. And I got a text from a restaurant today that's local, that most of you guys would know. And it was from the owner. And he said that what we're doing is keeping him afloat. And all the donating for these frontliners is not only making the frontliners day, but it's keeping the businesses alive that are suffering the most. So think about how you can give back in a small way or a big way. Give it away. So give it away means, what can you give your clients right now or to a prospect that could really help them without charging them for it and paying it forward? For our clients, we had to rework hundreds of posts and content in the middle of March. We did it proactively without them asking. And they were thankful and have been loyal to us because of all the work we did and that we gave it away, as opposed to charging them for the hundreds and thousands of dollars that we could have charged for a lot of the rewrites and the content and the rewriting of content that we had to do. So think about what you can give away to your current clients or your prospects. Get past the procrastination. I find myself doing it, so I'm sure that it's out there. It's hard to stay positive all the time, but keep moving is one of the most important things that we can do. So there's probably projects that you've put off because you've been too busy, because the economy is so good, and you have just too much work. Well, things have changed probably for most of us. So think about that project that you've been meaning to work on that could really move your company forward. And I ask you that you spend 45 minutes on it today. Maybe that means you work till 6 or 7 o'clock, but spend some time getting it started today. I think you'll find that it'll bring you a little bit out of the funk or feel like you've moved forward a little bit. The seeds that we plant this spring are really going to bear fruit for us in summer and fall. So think about what seeds you could be planting, because it's not about now. It's all about the investment in the future. So I think I've left plenty of time for some questions.
All right, Nick, thank you so much. So while we wait for some questions to come in through the chat, I just want to say if you want to review this webinar, we will be posting all recordings of our webinars on our website and on our YouTube channel. I know you talked about the importance of YouTube, so we're also trying to take advantage of that. Also, please keep posted on our Facebook and LinkedIn pages because we are constantly posting updates on the next scheduled webinars. Tomorrow's at noon is going to be, it's going to take a team. It's going to be about team building with Tommy Hilken, and it should be great. So I'm dropping links in the chat right now. And please, if you have questions, direct them there. Now, I actually have a question for you, Nick. You said you mentioned the pixels before, because I saw someone, I believe, where is it? John Coleman was asking about whether you can block Google from scanning your email. And I mentioned that you can turn off ad personalization, but you mentioned before pixel, like the pixel, and I know that's following us everywhere. So could you elaborate on that a little more?
Yeah, this is why you see on the bottom of a lot of most websites anymore, do you agree to your data sharing? It's because people have pixels on their websites. So you could say no to those websites, and a lot of times they'll still let you on their website. So I don't know if you guys see those pop-ups. It says, do you mind, this is your privacy act. Are you okay with it? This is our privacy policy. And you could say yes or no. Most of the time if you say no, you could still be allowed on their website. And that's a way that you wouldn't be tracked in, theory. I'm not sure about the pixel. I definitely, but there is, with every single platform now, there is data policies that allow you to subscribe and unsubscribe from them. So I would assume that that pixel was specific to Facebook. I assume that if you wanted to not see ads anymore based on your browser history, that they would not allow you to see ads anymore, but you would just have to dig for it. So a lot of this stuff is in our settings on the platforms that we're using.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So if there's no other questions, I appreciate your time. Hopefully it was informative.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely learned a lot. Any more questions from anyone, or let's see, getting some good feedback. Okay. So again, thank you so much, Nick, for presenting this. Keep an eye out for our upcoming YouTube video where we'll be reposting this and posting it on our website. And everyone have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.